Why are you going to war, ANC? We want to restore governance. We want to restore land. We want to restore the culture, the dignity of our people. Wow. So
welcome back on the channel. We're back again with Maponga. Let's go.
Again, I will always say this, Samex. The colonial system is well fashioned by the colonialist.
Yeah.
Until the African who assumes the office of the colonial system understands the reason why this chair was put. The Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Road and Transportation, Ministry of Social Development, Ministry. You need to go back and find out Ministry of Home Affairs. I mean, I remember in the 1950s and 60s, people banning dom passes, banning IDs. Here we are, 2025, telling everybody else must get an ID. You were fighting the
contradiction.
You were fighting the dom pass. So what's the difference between the dom pass of the 50s and the present dom pass? I mean, look at Lesotho now raising its head that we want our land back. Brilliant conversation. Ask me why?
Botswana as well, I had the conversation.
Because the Afrikaners and the British pushed Moshoeshoe into the mountains. Now South African government is the custodian of Basotho land. And will Ramaphosa and the South African government recognize that 30 to 40% of Basotho that are in South Africa actually have their roots in Lesotho? 20-30% of Mpumalanga that you call, they belong to Swaziland.
Still unrecognized. Jani, how, guys?
15-20% of Bahurutse and Botswana belong to Botswana, and another 20-30% of the vendors beyond Mapunguke, Wembe, belong to Zimbabwe. Another 10-15% of the Mozambican belong to Mozambique. But the colonial borders came and drew lines past our kitchens, past our dining rooms, past our houses and fields. And now the South African government has just become Fandamerva, but in a blackface. Will the South African government recognize the boundaries that were drawn by the Berlin Conference
That is very
as legitimate? And if those boundaries are legitimate, then Berlin Conference was legitimate. The backside of that. But if Berlin Conference was illegitimate, then every present government, every present president is illegitimate because they are presiding over illegitimate boundaries. So how can you say I'm a president of South Africa, but South Africa is a construct?
South Africa is a company, it's a registered company
of Berlin Conference. How can you say I'm a president of Mozambique, but Mozambique is a construct of Berlin Conference? So by legitimizing countries, we're actually legitimizing Berlin Conference. Hence, I always talk about African unity, that our country is Africa.
100%.
All other countries are provinces.
Yeah. True.
Because we cannot sit around and look at 15 men sitting in Berlin Conference who do an agreement, which 54 men right now cannot undo. 10 white people take a ruler and draw.
Well, I want this,
I want
take this. Yeah.
Take our 54 presidents right now, sit them in one room and say, can you undo what the white men did? They will quarrel on their way to the meeting. They will not even attend. Why? Because they enjoy the kingly roles of illegitimate power. That's why we're being abused. Because our presidents came into power to run land belonging to the kings. So there's something that happened between Angola and Johannesburg, vis-a-vis what happened in Harrismith and Bloemfontein at the formation of the ANC, that the kings of Harrismith, the kings of KwaZulu-Natal, put their monies, put their efforts to formulate this thing. Religion came in through the back door as the venue of the setting up of the ANC. Why are you going to war, ANC? We want to restore governance. We want to restore land. We want to restore the culture, the dignity of our
These guys
people.
went to war
Wow.
for land and came with democracy. Can you imagine?
Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. The purposes
Yeah.
of ZANU-PF, of SWAPO, of ANC, of Azania, of PAC are absolutely right. What do you want to do? We want to take land away from the white people and give it back to the black people. Well done. Let's go to Angola, let's fight. Let's go to Mozambique and Tanzania, Morogoro, let's fight. We fight. We come back one by one on the days of our independence. And guess what? Land was not returned. They went to war to fight for land. They came back with democracy. And inside democracy, the black man still does not have land.
They went to war to fight for the land. They came back with
Piece of
democracy.
paper, they call democracy. And they installed themselves as the kings. And to date, they are custodians of the land. And giving it back to its rightful owners is still a problem.
Was Robert Mugabe ahead of his time?
He was not ahead of his time. He was pushed into space. On his exit, on his sunset days, the war veterans who had been sitting, watching, listening to the lies of the white men and the British government through the Lancaster House.
Should we be ashamed as Africans for watching those colonial masters push him in the way that they did and we didn't defend him?
I like how he questions this guy. Good question.
Because the black man thinks that if he becomes a better house nigger, the white man will be more merciful to him. So when we saw them planning to kill Gaddafi, we all looked at, I mean, without mixing my words, Mugabe was there, Zuma was there, Museveni was there, Kagame was there. They all knew. And when they tried to rush into Libya, they were told by the Western NATO, stay away. We are going to get rid of him. Go and find the interview by Museveni himself admitting that
Looked away.
we were there and we were told to look away and we
Too
looked
much
away.
information can kill you guys. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next one. Let's go.